I think we're just always fashionably late.
I was getting into the chair as that was happening. I didn't shave today or anything.
Oh, look how fancy you look. I like your Fangoria t-shirt too.
This is the Trans Pride shirt from this year. This is their
very nice.
Still on Fright Rags. All proceeds go towards.
Oh, are they still selling them?
Yeah, so I literally just ordered this. Like, I want to say I ordered it like Sunday, possibly.
Well, I will be
and I got it.
Right
I got it
already.
It was so quick. So
I love
support FrightRags.com.
I've got my fancy pants jacket on because I just moderated something,
and
it ran a little bit over. That's part of the reason why we're late.
The other reason is I needed to watch Spider Game and also work my day job before I could
Spiderhead.
come online.
You just mushed together.
Spiderhead.
You just mushed together Squid Game and Spiderhead. Spider Games should be a thing, though. That's a solid title.
No, it shouldn't. No? Fuck you. No, we're never doing anything remotely called Spider Games. No.
I'm going down like a really disturbing path right now.
Nope. We're not going down that path. We're not going down the Spider Game path.
No, I can't help myself. Did you ever see Sisters Brothers?
Yes, I did. Yes.
Like a game in the Spider Games is ingesting a spider, and then the winner births the most spiders.
I will happily ingest my what is this statistic? It's like 7 a year. They say you eat while you sleep or something.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a statistic. I sleep with my mouth open, especially when I'm drunk and snoring. So, like, I'm sure a spider has crawled in there every now and then.
You eat like X amount of spiders on any given night, and that's like times like 10 whenever you've drank too much.
Then again, I mean, other cultures do eat like fried tarantulas and stuff like that. So, like, it is totally.
But these are like living spiders crawling into your mouth without your approval. That's a different thing.
Without approval. I'm ingesting spiders without my approval. Yes, so you do need approval to do that. I'm drinking something called a comatose IPA, so that bodes well.
Okay. Oh, that looks like something I'm not going to like.
Yeah, it's an 8.5 IPA with floral hops and juicy citrus. And yeah, so it tastes like.
All right. I hope you enjoy it. I'll probably pass on ever trying that.
Absolutely.
Hello, everyone. So many people here. MK Songbird, Mike is in the house, Sam is here. We have one of our winners from last week, Sophia, here. I hope you enjoyed the movie, Sophia. Very happy to see you all here on a Friday. Why? I can't make it go away. Are you clicking it?
Yes. Keep all spiders away from me. I'm leaving this up the entire time. Keep all spiders away from me.
I mean, I get it. I told you about my last show is when I had the spider issue where I tried to, be kind and not kill a spider, and then I was busy I was literally looking over my shoulder the entire episode.
Yeah, you're just nervous the whole time, just like it's gonna come back on me.
oh man! All right, where do we start tonight?
I will leave that up to you because we have a lot to do. So I'm fine following your structure.
All right. While my head's still on straight, I'll do my solo review first. All right. So this here.
Your review of Lightyear, not Solo.
Yes. Yeah. Oh yeah. No, that. I mean, we could review Solo too if you want.
No,
I haven't rewatched it since it came out though. This is my review of the new Pixar movie Lightyear. So, just in case anyone doesn't know, because it does seem like there needed to be some added clarity on this leading up to the movie's release, Lightyear, the movie that we're watching, is actually the Lightyear that Andy from Toy Story watched, and that's what inspired him to want a Buzz Lightyear toy. So essentially, what Lightyear is to Andy, something like Star Wars is to us. And this movie is about the Buzz Lightyear character going on a, sci-fi deep space mission where he's a leader and he makes a bad decision and he feels so terrible about what that bad decision did to the group that he takes it upon himself to try to fix it, even if fixing it requires life to essentially pass him by. I liked Lightyear. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I think the idea of Lightyear being a movie that exists within Andy's world is a pretty genius approach to a story like this. And I think there were a lot of missed opportunities in terms of, some of the meta elements that you could have been
Yeah.
exploring by doing that. But instead, what it winds up being is a fairly straightforward ish sci-fi deep space adventure, and that adventure is still quite thrilling. It's filled with heart and there's a lot of fun to it. It just doesn't have that same kind of emotional complexity that other Pixar movies have. But I think if they had gotten into the fact that this is actually a movie that Andy watches, I think that if they had gotten a little more creative with that element of it, it could have been a richer experience. But with what it is, I still enjoyed it well enough. And I think Socks is a genius character. Definitely one of the best creations by Pixar of all time. And given how many incredible, iconic characters they've created, that is really saying something.
Yeah, so I have not seen it yet because I was feeling under the weather last week coming back from New Orleans and Las Vegas both back to back. So I just didn't want to risk it, didn't go to my screening, just stayed home. But yeah, I mean, like that's what I've been hearing. And I guess that was what I was going to ask you first, actually, is the sense that like everyone I talk to says it's a pretty good animated film and pretty good at doing what it's doing, but it's also kind of like just a weird Pixar movie because it's not totally a Pixar film. Like it almost feels like them aping off something else. And again, that's part of the movie itself. So you find this weird like area you get stuck in where you're like, it doesn't feel like a Pixar movie, but also it shouldn't. And I don't know how to take that.
I feel like I can understand someone saying it doesn't feel like a Pixar movie because one of my favorite qualities in Pixar movies in general is that they are true fun for the whole family kind of movies. I think there's a lot for the youngest of moviegoers out there to appreciate, but those movies have such thematic heft and resonance that they can inspire an adult to rethink something like, let's say, how they connected with their toys as a child. And I
Yeah.
think that actually bringing that up, I think that there was a great opportunity to do that with kids in movies here. And admittedly, it would have been a completely different film if they had gone down that path and explored that a little more heavily. But in terms of what they set out to do with Lightyear, it, it does fit the bill in that respect. I mean, of course,
Okay.
you would wind up with this type of movie if it has to fit in Andy's reality in that particular way. But I also think that there's a lot of little creative elements here and there in the movie that I think do adhere to what you usually expect from in a Pixar movie. Socks in particular stands out, but I'll also highlight the group that Buzz winds up teaming up with to complete his mission. It's a really it's a fun group of characters with really catchy banter, and there's other little like world building type elements that I really appreciated. There's a spin on a sandwich that I'm just like totally tickled by, and I kind of want to have that sandwich now. I'm not going to ruin what the sandwich is, but you'll see. But
No sandwich spoilers. No.
yeah, no spoilers here. There was still a lot to admire. And in terms of, the behind the scenes of it all, it's still a downright gorgeous Pixar movie. I mean, the fact that we're seeing an animated film like this feel like a live action space adventure type movie, I think is something else. And like every single Pixar movie I see, I'm always so wowed by like the lighting and the composition and the color palette. And I think they do all of that here. It just stops just short of being a wow-worthy, unforgettable Pixar movie along the lines of how something like a Soul or an Inside Out have affected me over the years. I also want to point out one more thing. Chris Evans was absolutely perfect to voice this Buzz Lightyear, and I think he did exactly what he needed to convey that this Buzz Lightyear that we see in this movie is not the same exact Buzz Lightyear that we see in the Toy Story films, but also while giving you that natural understanding that that toy Buzz Lightyear is what he is because of this particular movie.
And that was going to be my next question, just like very briefly, how does it stand
Same
up? But
wavelength.
everything that I saw from the trailers alone, like I knew that part was going to be okay. I had no doubts that like once I saw the trailers and heard Evans's voice doing that version of Buzz, didn't have any issues. I was like, yeah, no, that part looks like perfect casting.
I loved I love the chemistry between Buzz and the characters around him too, because this is the type of journey where Buzz is literally only able to grow because of what others are reflecting about him around him, if you know what I mean. I'm trying not to get into a whole bunch of details, but it's like at the very beginning, he has a really close relationship with Uzo Aduba's character, Alicia, and she was really instrumental to inspiring him to becoming the space ranger he is. And then to see how they're at odds in terms of how they deal with what happens that puts them in this situation. They have two very different ways of looking at life and looking at the problem that they face. And being able to see their path diverge like that, I think is a pretty powerful element of the movie. But I
Yeah,
did
I
like
mean, well,
it
I
was
was
a
just
good
gonna say,
time.
like any kind of like ensemble like that, you're gonna have Buzz grow from those around him. So as long as the characters around him are good with that, like yeah, he's gonna have the emotional arc that he should have.
And Kiki Palmer, who plays Uzo Aduba's character's granddaughter, is also a
Mm.
major like, she's also like, all 3 of them really the entire cast. Because now I'm thinking Taika Waititi and, there's so many people here. There's A+ voice performances all around, but being able to see Buzz's,
Oh,
relationship with the grandmother and then the granddaughter is really something else, and, I think it highlights some really, like, beautiful evolution in all 3 of them as individuals, but the way that they change Buzz is also something quite special. But ultimately, I am just not feeling the weight of this movie quite like I have
yeah.
previous Pixar films, which is, it's definitely making this one not quite top tier Pixar, but it's still an enjoyable and very impressively made film. I mean, it's definitely solid. It's
I mean,
just
and that's it's still a Pixar like production. So like the fact that like it might not have the story that everyone's expecting or like that
this
kind of staying power, it's still gonna look like a Pixar movie.
this is the problem when you make a movie and you're a company that's essentially like not only changed the industry in terms of how animated features are made, but you've come up with like absolutely genius ideas that aren't only enjoyable to watch, but have completely reshaped the way like living, breathing human beings interact with things like their own mortality and their innermost emotions. Like that
Yeah.
is like a next level achievement for a film. So while Lightyear is really, it's a really good time and a solid adventure, you can't compare it to what I just described that Pixar has delivered in the past. And that is why I'm going to give Lightyear 3.5 Deweys out of 5 on the Dewey Decimal Movie scale.
It's a good problem to have if your studio is coming on the bottom end at a 3.5.
That is where I'm landing on that one. I recommend seeing it, but just know that it is not the same as some other Pixar movies out there.
It doesn't have to be the same. I mean, that's the whole thing. Like, it is kind of interesting to see them take a swing. Like, I think Lightyear is a swing for Pixar in the sense that like they're not doing what they usually do, and they're going in meta, but not doing it full way and all these things. So good for them to trying something different. I do kind of, there's a few people saying that like Turning Red got the straight to VOD, and Lightyear got the theatrical, and I wish there were different circumstances because I don't know. I feel like Lightyear kind of might have deserved the VOD versus Turning Red going theatrical. So
I
in that
will
sense, but
I will say, there is something special about seeing like that kind of adventure on the big
yeah.
screen. I don't know. But like if you want to watch it at home, I think this is one that like if you
Oh,
want to prioritize some other things, you can wait.
that one's waiting for. I'm going to VOD that easily. That is a streamer.
Do you want to just go from one review to another?
If you would like to.
I would like to. All right,
Okay, let's do that then.
let's do it. So now this review is for the new Netflix movie, Spiderhead.
Spider
Spider
Games head.
not Spider Games. That's a different movie where people eat spiders. No, that's not something that will ever exist or should ever exist. Spiderhead gets its name from the compound that's featured in the movie, and it's run by Chris Hemsworth's character. And what it is he has inmates living in that facility, and They don't have to, live behind bars or wear jumpsuits or do what you traditionally think prison living is like. They have a lot more freedom. The thing is, in order to get that added freedom in this space, they need to commit to participating in Chris Hemsworth's character, Abnesti, in Abnesti's experiments. And that experiment involves a surgically implanted device that injects mind-altering drugs that Abnesti is testing. It's quite the concept. It's very disturbing. Matt, what did you think of Spiderhead?
I like kind of indifferent on it. I don't love it. I don't hate it. I'm right in the middle. I am all here for giving Chris Hemsworth these types of roles. Because going right back to like Bad Times at El Royale and some of his other stuff where he gets to be a little bit more, not to say sinister, but he's playing the businessman, as you just said, and he's on front trying to keep up that charm. He does such a good job of keeping the charm up, but also slowly just letting you know that like Spiderhead is absolutely a thriller and there's some shady shit going on. And the way his character is able to just kind of delve into it, and then you get the reveals at the end, like all that stuff, like the way that he like maneuvers around that, and he still has the little dance sequence where he's alone and he like dances to his bed, and he's just having fun playing a role like this. So that is what I'm here for. I like, my reaction was after I saw the film was like, here's my review, yay Chris Hemsworth. Everything else kind of, I feel like it falls short of the concept that's given, because I do love the concept that you described. I love the idea that like inmates are there to kind of just, it's a better prison experience, if you want to call it that, and that's how it's sold. So like they think they're in a better place, and they think that these drugs are being tested like it's a love drug and all these things. Of course, again, thriller atmosphere, so we find out that things aren't all what they are, but I don't think it actually lives up to the potential by the time that the film ends. I think it kind of it builds itself up to be something that could be so high concept, and then it just kind of comes in base level on what it's telling you. So for me, it's a Netflix watch, but it also understands that it should only be a little bit over 90 minutes. It's all of an hour 45. And a lot of Netflix movies go that 2 hour 15. So I was like, you know what? There's a little more to that than like actually is kind of, I have to take that into consideration.
I think we're basically falling in the same place on this one. I should also point out that this movie is based on the short story by George Saunders. It's called Escape from Spiderhead. And, I point that out because I do think this concept is very, very smart. And it's one of those things where, because of the design of the facility and the tech and how they administer the drugs and all that kind of stuff, it's got this futuristic feel to it. But you also always feel the fact that like this is in the not so distant future, if not happening right now, like bubbling under the surface. So I think that credit goes a lot to like the writers, the actor, Joseph Kosinski, the director on this, because I think that's very important for a concept like this to have weight and not just feel like, using a high concept for the sake of creating a quick thrill. Like they are actually saying something valuable with this movie. I'm with you where I think they have this great concept here and they just don't make the most of it. And sometimes it lacks the necessary clarity to actually be able to say something with it. I think I had a little bit of a hard time with and I should point out, I loved Chris Hemsworth in that role. And it's not even just a role where it's like, haha, let Chris Hemsworth have some fun. Like, yeah, he is probably having a lot of fun playing a character like that, but it does seem like a great challenge to be able to reflect the tone of the movie, which is highly unique in that performance in terms of him needing to be able to portray Abnesti as some sort of like, like super genius with a whole bunch of quirks and eccentricities that makes him a big, charming, but like wild personality, with also the understanding that like he's a pretty sinister individual who does not seem to understand or care about the effects he's having on anyone. He is so laser focused on getting the work done with this experiment and does not care what he needs to do to go about it. So to be able to balance that kind of range of emotions and feelings, I think is really, it's a tough thing. So he's doing the work here. I know people keep calling it a fun performance, and yes, it is, but it's not like it's not hard work because it looks fun.
No, and like what he does, and again, to bring up El Royale specifically, because he is playing somewhat of a cult leader there. he has that cult leader charm here, and especially when it's like a corporate environment here, he is like the super healthy Adonis character with a beaming smile that every single character is, you know, they let their guards down around him because they just see who they want him to be and what he represents physically and stuff like that. And he uses that to his advantage. Like his manipulation game is A plus, and like that characterization that Hemsworth does with all of that, that's where the evilness like kind of sits in. All he needs are these like little conversations, whether that's like in a kitchen with the chef or like, you know, talking to Miles Teller's character and like all these other characters. It's just these small moments where he has with them where they know something is wrong and they just get the feeling of just ick and bad from him, but at the same time they are still smitten by what he's saying. They're smitten by what he's doing, and that comes off in his performance because you as well, you're laughing at him. He's doing something terrible, but you're also laughing at him while you're doing it, going like, damn, this guy is good. And yeah, that's all performance based. That is all on Hemsworth's performance. Like, it is a fun performance, but it's also very meticulous and very well done. It's not just something that's like, we're gonna just throw everything on the screen and see what sticks.
It contributes to the world building of it all too, because like one could say, well, like, why would anyone get involved in a facility like this? But his effect on those characters and the chemistry he has with those actors in those roles, you know, it makes it very understandable why someone in their position would, you know, I don't know if necessarily trusting amnesty is the way I should be describing it, but why they would get involved in a facility and what's going on in it like that. Like, I
think trusting is the word though, because you have his right hand the whole time who kind of, you know,
he was great.
Yeah, as well, very good. Yeah.
Man, I wanted to look up that actor's name.
Go for it. But I mean, like, that's the things we're talking about.
Is he not on the IMDb page?
I'm sure the IMDb is like in a weird state because it's a Netflix movie that's just coming out and like no one does that stuff properly.
Oh, all right. Well, that's weird. Okay, I'm not going to say his name then because it's not here.
In any case, though, I was kind of going to say, like, outside of Hemsworth's performance, it's hard to kind of like, I'm not going to remember much of this movie outside of it. And I think that's that kind of flatliner kind of effect that with the film, and why I can't say like a glowing review about it, because it does just kind of, it's a movie. Like, that's me and my friends in high school. Like, that was one of our things. We'd walk out of a movie and be like, hey, did you like it? And we're all just like, I don't know, it's a movie. And like, that was our baseline. Like, cool, we saw a thing, it exists, I'm fine with it. And I that is, the Spiderhead to me is the like essence of that. It's just, it's a movie, cool, I'm fine, we saw it, but at the same time, we're probably never going to talk about this movie again.
I think his name is Mark Paguio. But wasn't his name Mark in the movie?
I believe so. I just saw it.
Here it says Verlaine. Maybe Verlaine was his last name?
Oh, possibly.
I don't know. But he was phenomenal. And do you keep, what are you clicking?
I'm clicking. Yeah, hold on. I'm trying to go to the one above here. That it was a funny word.
It was
Dark
a
and Fox
word.
is a funny word. I agree. So like something in Spiderhead is
that I needed. All I wanted to know is like, who came up with the name Dark and Fox?
Yeah. So like the drugs in the film are all like, the love one is literally like Love Acton or whatever and stuff like that. So it's they're all named very goofily and again on purpose. So that's a thing, like it's supposed to be. But Dark and Fox got me. That was a good one.
I thought Miles Teller was pretty good in this. I thought he was doing exactly what he needed to do. It's just hard to get enthusiastic about Miles Teller's work in this movie when he shares so many scenes with Chris Hemsworth, who like pops to such an extreme. But then again, I don't think the role of Jeff necessarily called for something like that.
No, but and I think again he pops more because Miles Teller is kind of just plain toast, hanging out there in his Seattle Mariners t-shirt.
I wanted Journey Smollett to have a bigger role. Because I thought
Smollett too.
Like the dynamic between her character and Jeff, and also her and Amnesty, is like there was some meaty stuff there that I would have liked to have explored more. And I feel like she's one of those ones where anytime she pops on screen, she like adds like an energy boost to it, if you know what I mean. There's just something about her screen presence that's like naturally infectious, where you can't help but to want to see more of her.
Yeah, I agree. Smollett was underutilized, I guess, in the best way to say it, because she's playing this like great chef, and she has these little moments where she's just like walking around with food and kind of like brightening scenes and doing things that the movie needs, because it is in this industrial setting and it's in this kind of like sanitized environment 24/7. And I think that was like having that little bit of color, even from culinary, helped, where she's like chopping vibrant green herbs, or she's walking around with meatballs or stuff like that. Like, it's just little set dressing that made everything else kind of accentuate a little bit.
Her character also has a very curious backstory that's fueling a lot of what's happening to her.
Yeah.
And I feel like that storyline is shortchanged because of how limited her screen time is. I think that that could have been something well worth digging into more, but because they don't give it as much time as some of the other elements in the movie, it's not nearly as powerful as it could have been.
But I guess the reverse for me there is I actually enjoyed this a little more because it was so tight in the way that it went through everything. Because if this had tried to expand into the 2 hour mark and past 2 hours doing way more of that backstory, I think I'm actually way more out of it because we're spending more time with a film that's still not probably going to see its full potential, even with more time added. So I kind of like where maybe it is shortchanging some characters a little bit on backstory, but at the same time, it just gets in, it gets out, and it does what it needs to do. Because if more time gets added and it's in the way that I think they might add it, probably not going to be a positive review for me. So right now, like that 3 out of 5 is like where I'm sticking.
All right. I think I'm actually going to copy you. I'm going to give this movie 3 Deweys out of 5 on the Dewey Decimovie scale. I think it's a very, very interesting concept that they didn't make the most of, but I'm still glad to have experienced the story, and there's a bunch of very, very good performances here, in particular Chris Hemsworth, and I want to see him continue to expand his range in the way that this movie allows him to.
Also, I think just tight direction from Joseph Kosinski as well, just to say, like, it's a very clean film in the way it moves, progresses, and does everything. Like, there's not much fat on it, as I keep saying. And so I that is like just as important to a filmmaker knowing the film that they know is good. And I'll just say Netflix sometimes gives filmmakers too much creative process, and we see over and over again these movies run longer than they should. So I don't know. I kind of think like kudos for Kosinski in this kind of world where he could have a little bit more and could have like adding more scenes, and he still says nah.
It's also not easy to keep the visuals dynamic when you're restricted to such a small amount of locations, and especially locations that are, you know, like the look of the facility is very like bare and modern, so there isn't really much there to spice it up. But I think he found ways to capture everything that happens here, like in a really dynamic way that, you know, gives it some energy and also consistently draws you in and makes you want to lean in and see more. So I thought he did a great job as well. All righty.
Agreed.
On to the next thing. What's next?
We need to. We have all those news stories. So that is. Oh, there's a soupy. There's a super.
Oh, I have another super chat too that I meant that we have to go back to that we missed last week. But first, Travis is here. Thank you so much for supporting the show, Travis. It's much appreciated. I've been following Matt's vampire retrospective on Twitter. Top 3 vampire movies off the top. Go.
So for those who don't know, I've just been watching a shit ton of vampire movies. There's nothing else behind it. Then I'm writing an article and I have to do a lot of research because I want to do it well. And at top 3 off the top of my head right now. So I've watched like 8 or something in the last like 3 days. I still think my tops at this point, like Interview definitely goes up there now. Interview is one of my favorites. I'm still holding strong on Afflicted, which is a indie found. It's not even found footage. It's like Hardcore Henry first person.
I remember that.
So Afflicted, Interview, and I like probably at this point the OG Dracula. Because like I have seen Nosferatu, I have seen Vampire and other stuff. I've gone back that far, but just the OG Universal Monsters Dracula works so well for me on a way that it is this just really rich film, and the way they made movies back then with the huge sets and things of that nature, it draws me in. Like that's the kind of filmmaking I really like. I like filmmaking that, God, like some of the set design they do on that is so gothic, it's so good, and like you just don't get that anymore. So that is where I'm going for now, but I still have so many more to watch that I want to get to and stuff like that. Like Near Dark is right there, and there's a few more that are still dancing around. So there you go. Let the right one in. Someone just said that. Absolutely.
Yeah, good one. 30 Days of Night. That's one of my absolute favorites.
I love 30 Days too.
Over and over and over again.
30 Days is so good. It's just so like dark in a way that is just so endearing for that film specifically. It's Alaska, correct?
Yeah.
Yes, like the Alaskan darkness where it just goes 30 days of night and it's the entire time is just like a vampire's haven. It's so that is a really good comic adaptation. Like that's a really good like from panel to screen. I think it does a really good job transitioning that.
I feel like they kept talking about making a sequel for a while and never did. I would watch more 30 Days a Night though.
Was there not a VOD one?
Maybe there was a VOD one now that you say it.
Almost positive there was VOD. Also, I'm sorry, I must change my answer because oh, well, this is a good one. I haven't gotten to Bram Stoker's yet. That will be my next watch. But I forgot From Dusk Till Dawn, and that is one of my favorites. So I take it back. Maybe Afflicted drops down, and maybe From Dusk Till Dawn.
Afflicted is really good, though. I highly recommend anyone out there who has not seen it to seek that one out.
That is the reason, like, one of the reasons I love doing lists like this, to be like, here's an SEO list of the top 25 vampire movies ever. But then I get to be like, but I have movies like Afflicted. I'm going to force down your throat and say, like, no, you're going to watch Afflicted. You're going to watch these ones.
I'll also add the Nosferatu-inspired episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark to the list. I love that episode so much.
I won't be catching that in my rewatch, but I will keep it on.
I recommend it. So this is what Hoshi had sent in last week, and we missed it. Hi, Perri and Matt. I really like Dominion. Would love to see a hard R horror Jurassic Park one day, but I know it's more of a family franchise. Thank you. Love your show. I had to bring this back up because he did a super chat and we never said it, but I want a hard R Jurassic movie.
Well, that's everything we keep talking about, like the Crichton versions. Every time we keep talking about, we love Jurassic Park and how much we love it, but like, damn, like the Crichton books go so much harder. And I understand why they made the movies as they did. And again, family friendly, mass marketable, all that stuff. It's great. We love those movies. But at the same time, like, I really want, now that we've had Jurassic Park, the trilogy, and we've had Jurassic World, the trilogy, like, give me the super horror version of Crichton's books that he writes. Like, I want that.
They're not going to do it. They're not going to.
No, I know they never will. I know they never will. Yeah.
These things make too much money. But surprise, surprise, I was rewatching Jurassic Park the other night because I do that pretty much every week. That movie does go pretty hard into the horror, though. Like, there's a lot of visuals that are very, very genre heavy. I feel like it was maybe one teeny tiny baby step away from being full blown R-rated. Yeah.
No, I agree with that. And again, we're talking about Fallen Kingdom too, where half of the movie is a gothic horror film. Like, that literally is a horror film in a mansion with dinosaurs. But at the same time, like, it's still doing it in the world that isn't letting it go full force into horror, if we're going to say it that way. So I would, again, we're never going to get it, but at the same time, I would love a world where we lived, or like, just give me my Dino Crisis movies. Just get, like, if you ever played the game Dino Crisis, or the series Dino Crisis, it's a hard action horror sci-fi mashup of like dinosaur hunting video game stuff, and like that stuff needs to happen. I would love an adaptation that goes hardcore.
I have not played that. I just like, even if it can't be in the Jurassic franchise, I just want an R-rated dinosaur movie. That's it.
Yeah.
That's what I want. If they did a hard R Jurassic movie, I'd want it to go to Scott Derrickson. I mean, at this point, after having seen The Black Phone, I'm like, give Scott Derrickson all the horror opportunities. I hate boxing a director in, but can Scott Derrickson just stay in this horror realm and not leave it again? And I really like Doctor Strange, but he is exceptional at making like these types of somewhat lower budget horror movies like Sinister and The Black Phone. I really can't believe what he's able to pull off in those two movies.
It's all in the direction. It's there. And like screenwriting too, like Cargill's script writing alongside with him. Like, they just know how to write a script.
And those kids are so good. Man, I can't wait to blab more about that movie. But here's another movie to talk about. So Mike Joyce is here with a super chat. Have you seen Marcel the Shell? It's getting rave reviews. Did you ever go, Matt?
No, that was another one I had to cancel last week because I was feeling poopy.
Boo. It would have made you feel better because Marcel the Shell, the movie, is an absolute, utter delight. I had faith because those short films are really good. Like, I understand that maybe like the joke might feel better suited to a short film and there could be concern about them lengthening it to a feature film, but I think they do the best possible job they could have in terms of like recreating the charm and the silliness of those shorts, but also finding the perfect through line to add to it so that it does feel like a worthwhile feature to sit through. I just like Marcel is just so incredibly cute. I couldn't get enough of, the cute factor of it all and all the clever ways Marcel figures out to get around the house. Again, just like the shorts, I was loving every single second of that. But it also has a really powerful message about like human connection and community, and I just didn't expect for it to build as well as it did and to like really tug the heartstrings. I'm going to do a full review of this one soon because it's a special one and I want to add to its Rotten Tomatoes count.
I think they still have some screenings left that I'm going to go look into after we close here.
I highly recommend. And I feel, Matt in particular, I feel you'll be charmed by it.
Oh, I'm going to adore this film, and I'm already aware. And like it's just continuing the year of A24. Like just the way that they have been taken over this year.
So thus far, it feels like A24 and Paramount are the studios of 2022. They are crushing it.
Yeah,
I'm so impressed.
Also, wait. So agree, what a team. Now imagine Darrison and Cargill remake Jurassic Park, and Ethan Hawke is Ian Malcolm.
Well, I don't want a new Ian Malcolm.
No, I'm going off a comment.
No, Ethan Hawke can be in the movie. No, but he has to play a different character.
If you are doing Jurassic Park again in
I don't want again. No, I don't want a remake. I don't want to. Here's
I'm interested in Ethan Hawke playing that character.
Here's a spin on this for you. A lot of people out there know I blab about this. I've told you about the Star Wars book Lost Stars, right?
Yes.
I've definitely. So for anyone out there who doesn't know, Lost Stars basically takes place during the events of the original trilogy. So you kind of see things unfold from another perspective. The only Jurassic Park like remake of sorts I would ever want to see is maybe like those are the events that we saw play out in the first film, but like a park employee, a scientist is experiencing like how Camp Cretaceous does it, like that. Mm-hmm. I would be open to that kind of building upon Jurassic Park, but I never want a straightforward remake ever, ever.
Gonna happen someday.
No, it's not. It's not. You don't.
No, I know. I do believe that is one. I actually do believe that's one franchise that you keep going forward. You don't go back.
I was about to say you don't do it with a movie that's so damn good and such a classic, but we've seen it done so many times.
Like literally how many times?
Because I know people will.
But I do believe in what they've built so far with Jurassic franchise and things of that nature. I think they will keep moving forward. I don't think they will ever go backward. That is a franchise, at least, God forbid, another trilogy starts and bombs horrifically and they try to just recapture. Maybe that's the one time they do it, but I don't think so.
I hope they go back, but only go back so that they can explore the time on Earth between the events of Fallen Kingdom and Dominion, and we meet a completely new set of characters who like kind of like Battle at Big Rock, where they're just I don't know, they're like off on a vacation, and all of a sudden there are dinosaurs where there shouldn't be dinosaurs.
I would be curious to see, number one, where Camp Cretaceous the next season ends, because we know Camp Cretaceous is done and we know it's canon, so we have one more season coming. I would be very curious to see where it ends and if there's a possibility for a live action tie-in somewhere after that. I think that would be maybe a possibility of like translating that to screen if their story ends at a certain point and they still have more places they can go.
It is going to end. I'm predicting this. I know nothing. It is going to.
Right. This is prediction.
It's going to end like in a way that sets into motion certain things we see in Jurassic World.
Yeah. Yes.
So it's like I do think that at the end of Camp Cretaceous, it's going to be like the kids' mission is over. Like they're not going to be involved anymore. That's my prediction now.
I thought that would be really cool in the sense that like, I agree with you. I think that's exactly where they're going to leave it off. But maybe, because I still think part of the problem with Dominion is it goes too far in the future. I do want some of that material they skipped over to be seen. So like maybe using the kids as a trilogy after this and like having a way to translate them into a new trilogy that gives us the in-between points at this point. Like I think that would be something. I don't know.
Like I want to see what New York City does when like pteranodons or whatever specific type of flying dino like nests on top of the buildings.
Yep. Like they skipped everything they teased. They skipped everything they teased. We did that last week. We don't have to do that again for another half an hour because we have differing opinions there.
Yeah, I know. Let's talk about our title topic. Squid Game.
Fucking dystopian hellscape.
Squid Game, the challenge. The challenge?
Is that what it's called? Yes, I believe it's called the challenge. I think that is
what it's called. So when I first heard this news, part of me liked it because I just like games. I like game shows. And you know, as dark as it sounds, there is a little bit of a like wish fulfillment's not the right term, but like when you're watching Squid Game, you are inspired to wonder, what would I do in that situation? Could I win that game? Where would I falter? Where do my skills lie? What kind of team player would I be? So there is definite appeal in that quality in the show that could then apply to the idea of them creating a reality competition show. But
there's a huge but there.
Did the folks at Netflix not watch their own show?
Or is American capitalism that fucking dystopian where they don't even care that the show that they're promoting is literally classism and fucking the entire point of Squid Game is legitimately the impoverished and people having nothing else that they can do, being forced into these insane games by the rich, by the literal rich for their entertainment to die. And one of them gets a bunch of money because that's just better than living in poverty. Like the entire point of Squid Game is so fucking bleak. And the games aren't even half the importance. Like, I mean, BJ Colangelo wrote a piece for Slash Film that I read that is really fucking good at laying this all out and saying, like, here is why this is horrifying and why especially Netflix doing it. Netflix, a company who just laid off countless employees, says they are in trouble financially in the sense that they are pulling, like, they're tightening their purses and doing all that stuff. So, like, Netflix has said openly they are doing everything they can to conserve budget. And then they announce a game show with 400-something people on it with the biggest prize they've ever offered. And you're like, oh, that's cool. So that's where your money went instead of giving it to the actual people, thus informing the fucking dystopian capitalist bullshit that their game is actually showing.
It's unfortunate for all the reasons that you just mentioned. And then you could also even think about how it's going to impact how people watch and process the show that they already released. It hurts my heart a little, the idea of thinking that somebody just sat through all of season 1 of Squid Game and, you know, they found inspiration in some of the points that the show was trying to make. And then all of a sudden Netflix like, we thought we got you with a meaningful point that we're going to make, but we're really just going to throw that in the trash so we could have another show out of it. And when that has the possibility of happening while they're going to make a season 2 of Squid Game, the idea of this thing potentially existing in between the 2 seasons, I think is like, listen, people are going to watch. I'm not going to say that no one's going to watch because of all this. People will watch. I'm sure it'll do well for them, but it definitely will take away from the value of a really good TV series, I think, for anyone out there who does like to, you know, not just watch things for the entertainment value. And there's nothing wrong with that, but someone who really does like to consider like the themes and the points something's trying to make and really sit there and process it, because now you can't detach these two things.
No, well, it's also like whitewashing at its best, because literally this is a Korean show that is talking about very important Korean dynamics right now. And like, it's speaking from the heart and it's a commentary. And so leave it to the American producers to say, hey, that commentary doesn't matter. And we don't give a shit about Korea. We're going to take the game part and make a game show out of it, because that's what we do over here. And like, it's just what you said. It is absolutely looking at what the showrunners and creators were trying to say. It is diminishing every part of it and is literally saying, cool, we're now going to monetize just the game show part of it. And we don't give a shit about your little culture over there. Like, that is fucked up.
It's very fucked up. I wasn't laughing at the fucked up thing you were describing, but Simon's here and made a very good joke.
God damn it.
Thank you, Simon.
God damn it.
Yeah, so this is a thing that's happening, and
like it's just it is one of the, if somebody put it in the chat already, like it is so 2022 in a way that is just fucking blind to everything it's doing. It is just it I agree with you. People are going to watch it, but like that's also not the point. Like you want to kind of do the right thing, and like sure you're going to get eyes on your show, and guess what? Everyone's going to fucking hate watch it too. Like that's the other part of this conversation. Everyone's going to talk about how much they think it's wrong and how much they don't want to see it, and then they're going to hate watch the entire thing, and it's going to give Netflix exactly what they wanted from it, and it's going to null and void all the commentary. Like literally that's exactly what's going to happen. Also, what the fuck? Why am I the first one losing a Squid Game? This is bullshit.
I mean, we've pretty much already established this.
I know, it was
kind
me.
Of scenario, you're the first one to go down.
The question was me, Amelia, and Perri, and I am the first one. How am I the first one going down in a Squid Game?
Yeah, no, you're the first one.
I don't think you need an answer to that question.
I don't, but I still do want an answer. It's bullshit. I just played The Quarry and everyone survived. Fuck that. I know how to survive a horror movie.
All right. Here's another thing we could talk about. So this kind of leads into another like newer topic, but we might as well address the Neve Campbell of it all. So when those rumors started to hit Twitter, you know, people were getting really, really upset about it. And I understand that, but I'm also a very big believer that the next movie will be fine without Sydney's continued story. I think what they put that character through in the last film and what she achieves in the end basically demands that she has the right to reap the benefits of what she fought for. And like my big thing right now is like, I know that these characters have to continue being in peril for horror franchises to continue on, but if you never let a character enjoy what they're fighting so hard for, then like what does the fight mean anymore anyway?
So, I mean, the thing about everything in that situation going down right now is like I totally agree. Like, yeah, she should be getting everything she deserves, obviously. Like that is.
Oh, I didn't even address that yet. I'm just talking. I'm just talking from a story perspective. I think
that's the whole point.
I think the possibility that she's not part of this movie because she's not receiving what she thinks she's worth is absolutely absurd and deeply heartbreaking to me.
No, I agree with that, but like I think it also speaks to the part that she would have played in it, is the sense that like one of the first things that I saw tweeted after the initial report was more along the lines of like, listen, absolutely, if she is a major starring character, like she should be getting everything she deserves. But like what we kind of saw in the last movie as well is that like Neve Campbell's character was kind of getting, you know, she's been in so much and she's been through so much that like it is now being passed off to like other characters. And what I kind of read it as is maybe more of the fact that like she was offered a cameo role and she was offered cameo compensation, and maybe that didn't equate. And if that is the sense, like that is on all sides of the party, like that is fair. Like that is fair, the reaction, and is there fair what was like offered. So like I don't know if her role was that substantial and that the offer was not that. Like I could be totally wrong. This is just me kind of saying and predicting what it looks like, but like I don't think the role would have been that huge for her in this film. And I think that's maybe why the pay wasn't that to that point. And if that is wrong, then absolutely there is something wrong with that situation. But I don't know. I feel like this franchise would have done very right by her. And I feel like this franchise of all franchises would have known Neve's importance if she was a main character. So I don't know. Like, you know, we'll never know. But
well, that is the thing. And that's important to point out, is that you know, we don't know the details of the situation. And I feel like a lot of folks out there have called out the directors. A lot of times the directors have like the studio,
absolutely nothing to do
there's
with
someone else deciding on budget and things. Yeah. So I do think that it's probably unfair at this point to point any fingers, because we don't know the details of the situation. We don't know the details of the deal that she was offered either. But reading that statement, it's a pretty strong statement to make in an ongoing franchise. Like that to me did, and again, this is just my interpretation and what I think she might be feeling, but with a statement like that, when you actually make that public, that to me suggests that like, it was a bigger deal where she felt the need to speak up about it, where she felt like she was so undervalued that it wasn't just, an itty bitty cameo and, like not feeling
Yeah.
like she was getting what she deserved for something like on a smaller scale like that. Like it I don't know. Again, this is just me projecting how I read the quote, but it just felt like there was a different level of disrespect there. And if you're gonna go out there and say something like that, I need to like I would have a feeling that, like she felt a great need to do that. And if she felt a great need to do that as a diehard Scream fan, where she is the beating heart of that franchise, it just
She
saddens
is.
me to know she was treated in a way that made her feel like that.
Yeah, and again, it's something that sucks. So it's just like hopefully that I don't know, things happen. We'll never know. And then the problem is it goes online, and then people keep extrapolating and like going at like on and on about it. So like other people who also don't know the scenario are starting to add on to it and add their own comments. And it's kind of the sense of like we're not gonna know. So maybe we just kind of like let this one go and like we take our losses and
That's another thing. Like I keep hearing like people keep commenting on a video that I posted on TikTok and saying things like don't you know how like negotiations work? Like she's saying this to get more money.
and like maybe, but also we don't
No.
fucking know. Like
That feels highly unlikely to me.
no, 100%.
You don't release a statement like that in order to like make some sort of move to change the situation. I mean, like, is it possible that they revisit her deal and she winds up coming back? Yeah, I think that's still totally in the realm of possibility. And if
I
she is a big
mean,
enough character in the script that they're trying to make, maybe they will have negotiations again. But it's also possible
but I
that
mean,
it won't pan out
if
that
you
way.
test your value on the market and you say, I'm not re-signing this contract, and then you prove with enough pushback that like you need to be in the film, like I mean, it's kind of the same thing of like if I would go to my business company and say, hey, I'm gonna quit, and they go, all right, cool, go away. But then also I say like, oh, by the way, like this competing offer, blah blah blah, competition, all of a sudden like or like reasons why I should stay. Like I think it adds a little bit of value. I don't know. Like I think there I'm
No,
not
what
saying it's happening, but
it
like,
could. What I'm saying is I did not read this story as some sort of deliberate
yeah,
attempt on her part, like, "I'm gonna release this statement so I get more money."
no,
I don't
there's
think
no
that was the
malicious thing here. No,
intention. I think she was just truthfully voicing how she felt about the deal that she was given.
and also she was at a con. Like she was asked at a con to be like, "Hey, are you going to be in this?" And like she just gave an honest answer. Like there's nothing wrong with that. Like that is literally just her being like, if someone asked me and I gave them exactly what I said, like that's fair.
I was very open to the idea of Sydney not being part of the story, but the fact that now I know that she was included in the script at a point does make me, raises like an itty bitty red flag. I'm not like completely losing hope in the film. I
Yeah,
still trust the filmmakers and think that they have a lot to work with beyond Sydney,
yeah.
but it is going to be interesting if it does stick this way, watching that film, knowing that there was a rendition of the script where her character was involved.
But again, we'll never. I mean, maybe we will someday, but like we'll never know what that iteration was. We'll never know if that was an
Don't say
entire.
never. There's a whole bunch of sneaky people in this business. I won't be
Well,
surprised
that's
if
what I'm saying.
that script leaked at a point.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Like maybe not right now, but like maybe if we ever do find out, that'll be great. But we won't though, and we need like that's the important thing that's missing. It's like, was she going to be a main character or was she going to be in like two scenes? Like that is very important to know that before jumping to conclusions. But at the same point, we have a great new cast. We have a great idea set up. It's in New York City. Well, it's located in New York City, filming in Canada, but still.
She dead, Jason. I know everyone keeps talking about
nope.
this. She's dead.
She ain't dead, just like Stu ain't dead.
She's dead. They're both.
She ain't dead, and Stu ain't dead, Perri.
They're both dead.
Stu lives.
Dead.
No.
Dead.
Did you see a body? Did you see a body?
Yes, in both cases, I saw bodies.
Well, you saw bodies, but did you see dead bodies? You just saw bodies.
I saw dead bodies. I said I saw deid bodies. I am saying that with authority. They are dead, dead, dead. They're not coming back. I do love the idea.
Will you eat a shoe if Steve shows up? Or can you be the next Matt Pashes?
Wait. But like, not if Stu shows up, because we've already seen based on the last film that there's other creative ways to incorporate those characters. I am specifically taking a stance on, are there characters, they're like human being characters dead.
Yeah, human being characters.
They were killed. So I will say I will eat a shoe if they are revealed to be alive and breathing.
Okay.
But if they come back in the form of, let's say, a Billy in the latest Scream movie, then I will not eat a shoe because that's not what I'm betting.
We can't copy the shoe because Matt Patches did already eat the shoe. But what will you eat
A
if
spider.
Stu shows up? You will eat a spider if Stu shows up as a human character.
It needs to be like a cook spider, though, like a spider that's meant to be eaten, like, you know, grasshoppers and stuff.
Yeah, like again, like fried tarantula or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay, you will eat a spider
Yes.
if Stu shows up in human form.
No, you're misinterpreting what I'm saying.
No, I said human form, not like a ghost.
Living, like living, breathing.
Okay, living, breathing is human to me. What? How else would you
I
interpret?
just want to make sure
Ghosts are not human.
I just want to make sure I'm clarifying this properly.
But ghosts are not human, so why would me saying a human character is initially trigger ghost?
You said human form. Billy appeared in human form.
But like, he was no. Okay, all right. Human and ghost to me are different. I didn't know if I had to actually specify that.
Or like visions don't count, flashbacks don't count. He needs to have progressed in life because he lived through the events of the first Scream movie. That's what this bet is.
Okay. So yes, flashback. Well, but what if he shows up modern, like as himself as a flashback? Like it's Stu.
If the flashback takes place after the events of the Scream movie,
that's
like
fair.
if it takes place 5 years later and we come to learn that he's alive, he's just forever injured from having a TV smush his head, I'll eat the spider.
Okay. All right. Everything is clear now. Everything is laid out. This is fair.
Okay.
Human Stu, not ghost Stu.
Yeah.
And not flashback Stu dead. Like new living, something has happened. We know he's alive.
It needs to confirm that he's survived being smushed by a TV.
Okay. That's fair.
Okay.
This is on video. This stays forever.
I'm perfectly fine with all of this.
Okay.
What do you think about the rumor that it's going to be set in New York City?
I do like that. So the one thing I tweeted on that was I like when slashers that usually take place in like sleepy towns or at camps and things of that nature. And it not even say Woodsboro is sleepy. Like Woodsboro is a more built up area, but it's still a suburb. So when you take a slasher who is used to being able to stalk and do these things under more like the shade of night where it's not hustling and bustling. So now you put Ghostface or whoever's playing Ghostface in this movie in New York City. And not only does he have to find ways to kill these people stealthily, but he has to do them in areas where like New York City is always alive. We both live there. We know there's people everywhere. It's always loud. It's always these things. So like, number one, maybe that's part of a cover up too. Like maybe that makes it easier to kill people in a crowd. But number two, there are people everywhere. And I think that adds so much more to like the gamesmanship of Ghostface at this point.
It's like basically the gamesmanship, yes, but also the sheer terror of a kill being able to make a kill happen in a busy city like that. Because it reminds me of the opening of Scream 2, where she is murdered in a theater full of people and no one helped her. I have a feeling they can tap into that quality and really make the most of it if this report is true, and it is indeed a Big Apple Scream movie. I am also just like, as a New Yorker, I'm just tickled by the idea of Ghostface being in New York City.
It's just a really cool, I'm not gonna say renaissance, but like, you know, Evil Dead is now going to Los Angeles and doing the apartment complex. This is doing New York City. Like, I just like the idea of these franchises coming out of nowhere, as in locationally, and like coming into like these big hustling cities. Because there was just something to watching Jason in Manhattan, where this is the Jason we all know, but again, he's just always been in camps and he's always been in the woods and things of that nature. And now he's just walking down the streets of New York City and he's interacting and he's like, you know, imagine those Ghostface interactions where he's walking through Times Square and people think he's just another like stab impersonator or something like that. Like there's so much comedy and stuff to do with that.
Oh, for sure. There's also a lot of fun to be had with the idea of trying to run away from Ghostface in an apartment complex because of how heavily they've emphasized things like, you know, you're running up the stairs when you should be going out the front door. Like, I think about this often. It's not as easy to run away in an apartment. Like, unless the stairs are easily accessible, you're waiting for the elevator. I love playing stuff like that, ideas like that.
It does a good location switch that is smart. I think it's, like, it's also left Woodsboro before. This isn't the first time people are like, oh, like the Scream franchise is like gonna, I don't know, they're trying something new and that's dumb. And it's like, but they went to like they've left Woodsboro before. Exactly. They went to Hollywood. So I don't understand the pushback of that.
Went to college in Hollywood.
Fucking get out of here.
All right. Speaking of which, we have to get out of here soon because someone's got steak to eat. First, we have Caleb Super Chat.
There were two. Caleb was very nice. He sent two Super Chats.
Thank you so much, Caleb. I'm so excited for fantasy football. See, Caleb is so nice and generous sending 2 Super Chats, but little does he know he has so much work ahead of him because I'm going to ask him a million questions about setting up the league again.
We are getting close, and like things are actually happening now, and like I'm having like people are starting to release players and stuff like that. So I'm really staying on top of it. But I am.
Wait, release players?
Yeah, just like because it's not OTAs anymore, so it's not a mini camp that like is just optional. Now like the actual mini camps are starting and things are happening. Like Lamar Jackson and the Ravens will not show up to mandatory camp because he doesn't have a deal yet. McLaren at the Commanders will not show up because he doesn't have a deal yet. So I don't know, like there's things happening already where I'm having to kind of adjust my thinking on my draft strategies.
Okay. Interesting. I'm taking notes. All right. We'll actually end with Sam. Matt, you mentioned the Quarry earlier. Do you recommend it? Is it better than Until Dawn?
I recommend it. I had fun with the Quarry on my first playthrough, and I'm definitely going to play it again. So like that is my testament to say I will play this game again. And replay value is huge on these games that are just like living a horror movie. I hesitate to say it's better than Until Dawn just yet because I want to do at least 1 or 2 more playthroughs and see how many different choices I can make, because Until Dawn did great with that, and they had a lot of really good varied endings. But from what I hear, there's like fucking 150 different ways you can play through the Quarry or something. So I saved everyone my first time. Now I'm gonna see what happens if I can kill everyone as quickly as possible and how long the game takes. So that is my next challenge.
All right, I'll try games eventually. Maybe not. I have a lot to watch. A lot to do.
Sorry, I didn't see this.
Oh,
Lamar report to camp. That is good. I did not catch that just yet.
TikTok the steak, please. I won't TikTok it, but I'll post a story on my Instagram if I remember to take a picture before I inhale it. All right, I have to go, Matt.
You can leave.
I'm gonna leave, but first, plug something. Tell everybody where they could read your great work.
At Donald Twitter, Letterboxd, Instagram. Just follow me on all the things. I'm everywhere. I don't know. I write on fucking IGN all the time, /film. Bunch of places. I'm always writing. I'm always doing something. I just did Tribeca. I just did Overlook. Fantasia's coming up. Lots of things. Andrew legit paid $2 to delay my steak. I like that. That's the long game. You play the long game there. Before I go get steak, I will tease that we are releasing an episode of Collider Ladies Night tomorrow morning with Leslie Bibb. And trust me when I tell you, Leslie Bibb's got stories for days. She was such a delight. She was so generous with her time. It's one of the longest Ladies Night conversations I've had. Check that out tomorrow. With that, I'm clicking it because it's steak time. See you next Friday, guys. Bye.